Good afternoon. My name is Alex Lee. I'm with the GIS Data Service Group of Greenville Utilities. And this afternoon, I'm sharing our experience of implementation of Portal in our organization. And by the way, Portals, the spelling of Portal is uppercase for the P. Greenville Utilities was established in 1905. It serves the city of Greenville and 75% of Pitt County. GUC provides electric, water, sewer, and natural gas services. We serve nearly 150,000 customers. Greenville Utilities is owned by the citizens of Greenville. However, it operates under the separate charter issued by NC General Assembly. We started to explore Portal project in 2017. Currently, we are rolling out the Portal to our end users. According to the ESRI documents, it usually takes months to years to implement Portal. Some of the organizations choose to use Esri's technical service to do so. Some organizations choose to do it by themselves. We decided to implement Portal by ourselves. Regardless which options, as a GIS administrator, we still have to make many decisions. So we'll see this in the following slides. So Portal of ArcGIS is a component of ArcGIS Enterprise. It allows us to share maps, apps, and other geographic information in our organization. It is the front end of the ArcGIS Enterprise. Portal is powered by the back-end infrastructures. Portal implementation is not a simple software installation. It is building an enterprise ArcGIS. There are multiple components in the Portal. The components do not play well with each other if their ArcGIS version are not the same. So some of you probably already found that out. So what we encounter, and I'm put a list here, so I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. You probably encounter the same kind of issues as we do. So why Portal? Why we want to use Portal or ArcGIS Online? In my opinion, the biggest advantage is the single login for secured services. Portal handles user authentications for all ArcGIS contents. So if we do not use Portal, but we want to provide secured ArcGIS services, a user have to log in every time when they switch between ArcGIS contents. It will certainly be very annoying for the users. And otherwise, on the other hand, the GIS administrator may have to provide the token in the URL, and it should look something like on the screen. There are many benefits of using both Portal and ArcGIS Online. Both provide a very good way to manage users and contents. Now you may ask, why we use Portal, not ArcGIS Online? There are many benefits of using either one. The main difference is where we put the data. Do we want to put the data locally or put a copy of the data on the ArcGIS online cloud? Some organizations may not feel comfortable to upload their data to the cloud, and they might prefer more control of the data. And such as in our case, we are a utility company, and we may not feel comfortable to put all our utilities data on the cloud. And some organizations do use a hybrid type of approach. There is another very important difference between Portal and ArcGIS Online. So Portal is your baby once you have it. On the other hand, online is maintained by Esri. You do not need to worry about the infrastructure behind it, especially when it's time to upgrade. Upgrading Portal is not a straightforward process. Esri has guidelines and steps that assume every step is completed successfully. When something happens, and then you're on your own to find your way. So now let's look at the components of a portal. On this slide, it's a highly simplified enterprise infrastructure. The main components are portal, server, data store, and enterprise database. We may put all the components in one single machine for testing environment. But in a production environment, the components are usually on different servers. So what this means to us as GIS administrator, first, it means we have multiple servers to deal with. Some servers have required to have their own web adapters. Second, we need to deal with the security and data communications among all the components. Third, again, Portal does not like mix and match. It prefers that everything is the same version. In short, if you are not an expert of server, you will become close friend with your IT infrastructure team quickly. So once we successfully installed all components, you may still find your portal is not functioning. That is because we have not told the components how to communicate with each other. So what makes the components talk to each other? In short, it is the configuration of the SSL certificates or secure sockets layer certificates. The SSL certificates function like encrypted telegraph signal and the encryption codebook. It allows the servers to talk to each other in an encrypted way. So on the left, that's what a certificate looks like. On the right, and we bind this certificate with the server. That's how we let the servers talk to each other. So certificates was the most difficult and critical part of setting up the portal. And so why is it difficult? Because there is no Esri documents that can explain the exact infrastructures of our organization. It is up to us to test the configurations. So I would recommend the article on the screen if you want to learn more about the SSL certificates. Now let's assume our portal is running If we want to use the existing organization's login, you may want to establish an enterprise identity store. In our case, our enterprise active user directory is a LDAP service, or lightweight directory access protocol service. So at the top portion, it allows the portal to import single user at a time. At the bottom portion, it allows the portal to import the whole group of user at a time. This is not necessary. If we do not do this part, the portal administrator or the user will need to create an account. And the type of this type of account is called built-in account. The name built-in account is very confusing. It just means this kind of account is only in portal. Now our portal is running and have users. So what do we put our contents? What contents put on what machine? So on this slide, it shows a typical setup of a portal. There are three kinds of ArcGIS servers based on how tightly they are connected to the portal. From the left to the right, the connection to the portal becomes tighter. The server on the left is the registered web service server. It may not require user login, or user login is not controlled by the portal. On the right, there are federated and hosting servers. The users' login are controlled by the portal. There is difference between a federated and a hosting server. The data for hosting server is also controlled by the portal, and it's in the data store. Now the question is, we still haven't answered our question, where do we put our contents? The answer is totally depends on your organization's data governance. So let's talk a little bit more about the difference among the ArcGIS servers. That will help us to understand where to put them. We usually bring the registered services into the map by a REST endpoint. Usually they are not secure services. If they are secured services, they will ask for a login. Now, let's move to the federated server. The data do not managed by the portal. The type of services are usually the enterprise data services. We usually have well-established ways to interact with this kind of data. We normally serve them as map services, so the users of the portal are not allowed to edit the data here. For the hosting server, data source for the services are the data store. The portal has full control of the data store. The data store is self-contained. It's usually a black box Postgres database. I think actually it is. Now that's the only choice. The only way that we want to interact with the data source, is through the portal. So in our organization, that's where we put our contents. So for the register services, and we put older and unsecured services from other agencies, such as something from the county. And for the federated server, we put our utility data. And the utility data, we normally follow well-established SOPs, how to interact with the data. And for the hosting server, we put ad hoc user data, such as Excel tables and other business tables. So during the implementations, and we have a lot of try and error, I would suggest the followings. And Portal provides commands to back up configurations. Make sure that is part of your administrator routine to automate or schedule the scripts. And if you really need to reinstall or upgrade the servers, always back up the two directories on the screen. And if nothing else works during the upgrade or reinstalled, those two directories are your lifesavers. That's the only way you can, they are the core of the portal and the server. Copy and paste them back to the server, at least get you back to something you can work on. Another thing I would like to point out is remember all the initial install usernames and passwords. It is required when you upgrade any of the components. And if you use different usernames and passwords, it gives you a lot of headaches. I would suggest use the same login. So another suggestion is, if it's not absolutely necessary, do not unfederate the ArcGIS servers, and it will totally mess up all your item IDs and everything. So if you don't need to do it, then don't do it. So like in any implementations of any new solutions, there are many non-technical considerations. The most important one is to make sure that the stakeholders' understanding. It is not a simple software installation. It's much more. Also, you already saw the project needs multiple components. They all have dollar amounts attached. Having your boss and the department support is critical. Also, the process is highly technical. The support of your IT and infrastructure team and understanding is also critical. So just keep in mind, it is not a software installation. If somebody tell you that and they are not telling you the truth. So here are some reference materials and the contact, and if you want to contact me, and you can either email me and call me. So any questions? Okay.
Windows authentication or LDAP or the built-in portal users?
We use the LDAP. The question is what type of Active Directories we use. We use the LDAP from the organization. So all the users are the same. They have the same login as when they log into our system.
That was already set up?
Yes, yeah. So we don't need to worry about the login. As I mentioned, there's so many factors. Oh, the question is how long is the implementation process? And the answer is it's really up to the organization, and because there's so many factors, not just technical factors, but also the governance and the resources and also the human factors. If you went to the presentation yesterday by Adam from Esri, and there are many factors and to affect your project. And so as we pointed out, it usually takes from months to years. So it's a long process.
But how long did it take you after from start to finish?
We started in 2017, so now we are just get to the point rolling out the service. So again, it takes how long? Almost 2 years. So it's a long process. And also there's other ways you can do it. You can hire consultants, and Esri also have their technical support team, and they can help you to.
So Esri is pushing the data store to use, but did you find what's the difference in your use for using the data store versus like your normal SQL database that you would use with enterprise organizations?
Yes, and so the question is, what's the difference between the data store and our own, perhaps SDE type of data source? And I think for the data, and I think Esri is pushing use that the hosting database, everything is a black box. Postgres database, I think that's the only option since last year. So if that's the case, you really don't have any interaction with that particular database through other means. And since our utility data, we have other things on top of it, such as ArcFM and whatever other extension, other pieces on top of it. So we cannot put that the data in the black box database, and so that's the reason we use the federated server and then point it to a SDE source.
You mentioned consuming external services for county. If they were at a previous version, would that cause issues?
Okay, so the question is, if we pull in the registered service from outside source, perhaps from a city government or the county government, and usually their version is it's not that big a deal. I think as long as it's unsecure service, usually it's unsecure service, and usually it will work. Just pull in the REST endpoint service. Thank you so much.